Welcome to episode 588 of Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salcido, and tonight I'm sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me, at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Excuse me. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord, or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting all my shows up there. If you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can find books I've written, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, over on Amazon, along with one coming out hopefully in the next few months or so. You can also sign up for the Patreon page. If you sign up for the paid membership tier levels there, that's either $1, $5, $10, or $20 are the tiers there. And you will get one extra episode of True Paranormal Stories from the web each week. Doesn't matter which level you sign up on, as long as it's one of the paid levels, you will get that, and that's all. That is the benefit for each of those levels. So it's all the same. Or you can just send in one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows and the books associated with them, from equipment to research materials to preparations for the books to travel expenses in some cases. And I think that takes care of all that. So we get back to these true accounts here, and it's been a lot of fun. I record multiple episodes per night when I do this, even though I put out one episode every day. But it's been a lot of fun tonight, just doing all these shows in a row like this, and just going through all these accounts of experiences. So, and so let's get to the file where I have all these stored. And I probably need to start a new file soon because, yeah, well, not this file, but another one, the one where I store all the ones I use in the show. I've used on the show. That one's getting pretty full. We have to start a second one here soon. But anyway, let's see here. All right. This first one says, this happened when I was a teenager, hanging out with friends at one of their houses late at night, around 2 a.m. The friends' parents were not home, and we had been playing video games all night. While waiting in the lobby for an online game, and that is something I've only recently, last few years, figured out what they mean when they say that. That's like a waiting room online for games. It's really weird to me. Anyway, we heard someone knock on the door. We went to look through the peephole and saw a strange, short, dark figure moving in an oscillating motion, swinging back and forth with its arms and hands. All of us witnessed this figure, which really unsettled us. We remained silent to pretend no one was home, while one friend checked the camera at the door from their parents' room. I guess they mean their PC or whatever that was there. The camera showed no one at the door, and no one was recorded approaching or knocking on the door that night. So that's where that one ends. I'm guessing it went away at some point, or they went away. They just ignored it. I don't know. But that is a lot. So you have this figure that is there, but not being there. They're not there in a way. Um, that is amazing. And the fact that it was visible to the people there and audible to the people there. They heard the knock. They saw the figure through the little slot in the door frame there, the little hole in the door frame there, or in the door there. But then when someone went and looked at a camera image of that doorway, there was nothing there. That is wild. That sounds like some kind of interaction between an entity and the minds and the senses of those people that is more there in that sense than it is in the physical sense for that those people that were there. And I don't know, that was very confusing even to myself. Anyway, and I've heard accounts of like that where entities will appear to people's own eyes, but then not on cameras. And I've heard the opposite, where it'll appear on cameras, excuse me, but not to people, not to their own eyes. And I don't know. It sounds like some entity just really wanted attention that one time, and they got it. I mean, for a little while. So that was a wild one. Excuse me, when I saw that, read that one. I really wonder, and it's not something I would have recommended, but I really wonder what would have happened if they would have opened the door. I mean, would they still have seen it when they took the time to open the door? Almost feels like it's likely that by the time they got the door open, because they would have had to back away from the door, probably while losing sight of this figure, because they wouldn't be at the peephole in the door anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if when they did that, if they did that, this is all again just imagining how things could go. It wouldn't surprise me if when they opened the door it wasn't there. But so yeah, that's an amazing one there. And again, you have this interaction or this non-interaction of the paranormal with electronics, with technology, where they seem to be able to choose. Entities seem to be able to choose whether they want to or not want to be noticed on electronics. And how does that work? So a lot of questions there. That's why I love that one. And so yeah. Um, let me see here. So moving on to the next one here. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I scared myself there. I thought I had to. I thought I hadn't I thought I hadn't edited some of these, but I had. I just forgot to remove the note to edit them. So anyway, and I edit for grammar and all those kinds of things. So just so everyone knows, not for the details in the stories. But anyway, this next one says, when I was around 7 years old, I used a Ouija board with my father in his room and communicated with the spirit of a lady. That night, I slept in my father's bed. The next morning, I woke up and saw my father on the other side of the room. And my father looked at me and said he was going to the kitchen, asking if I wanted anything from there. I replied, I want an apple. And my father responded that he would bring one back. My father then walked towards the closed door and faded away as he reached it. At that moment, I heard my father's voice behind me, asking if I was okay. I turned around to find my father still in bed, asking why I was talking to myself. I tried to explain what had happened, but my father brushed it off. Can anyone explain what happened that morning? And that's where that one ends. I wonder about some kind of astral projection, some kind of bilocation. The the writer's father there was maybe even aware of what was going on. Um, and I mean, if there were any kind of a caring father or caring parent, that would be a natural question, sort of asking, "Everything okay? Do you need anything?" I could see them doing that while they're sleeping, and that's why they faded away because they were not. That was them, but that was not them in their physical body. And then when they're going through that transition of sort of going back into the body and then waking up, coming out of it, I mean, especially if they're more of a skeptical person who, although it is odd they did I mean, I guess they could have done the Ouija board thing because they just thought the father just thought it would be funny or whatever. But it does sound like I don't know. I wonder if he believed in it before or not, or if he did after. A lot of questions there. I don't know. I don't know what happened for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was the father. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe some kind of possession of the father, but it's weird that nothing else really happened, though, if that was the case. But I don't know. But but yeah, let's see here. It's definitely possible. And hello there in the chat, Matt's all good to see you there. But yeah, and then Ricky in the chat says you hear a lot of loved ones trying to let people know they're okay and they are thinking of them. Yeah. So I don't know. Definitely could have. I mean, it's always possible. It could have been some other entity. Excuse me, but yeah, hard to say there, especially with the use of the board the night before. Maybe it just sort of, I don't know, put the energy out there, and it was easier for either the father to somehow astral project or some other entity to take the form. Um, so yeah, yeah, it is possible because demons and other entities will mimic loved ones too. Yep, yeah. So possible. Hopefully, though, that was the only thing that happened, and if that's the case, that's a good thing. I'd be curious about that very thing. If anything else happened in the location after that. A lot of times when people put these accounts of experiences up, they will say a lot of times if there have been a lot of experiences before or after, especially after, they'll say this happened and then all these other things happened after since then. So hopefully the sort of a no news is good news kind of thing there. So yeah, I don't know. Beyond that, I'm not sure. Uh, I wonder if the writer hadn't, if the writer hadn't said anything, just shook their head or something, and then hadn't woken the father up, what would happen then? I'm curious about that as well. So, sort of the what if thing. I know I've done that a couple of times tonight, but it's still interesting to go down those paths sometimes to figure out maybe help figure out what's going on there. So, moving on to the next one here. Let me see. Okay. This one says, this happened in Northwest Arkansas one night at around midnight in 2018. I had just finished my shift at work and was being picked up by my grandma to spend the night at her house as I didn't drive. While on the way, we saw a round, blinking and spinning object in the sky above some trees. The object vanished after 3 to 5 seconds. My grandma stopped the car and asked if I had seen the object, and I confirmed that I had. We spent the next 10 minutes discussing what the object could have been, ruling out a drone, helicopter, or plane due to the lack of sound and unfamiliar appearance. My grandma looked me in the eyes and said, "Don't tell Grandpa we saw that. No one will ever believe us." My grandparents were devout Christians who didn't believe in the supernatural or aliens. To this day, my grandma and I agree that we might have witnessed a UFO. And that's where that one ends. And so yeah, I don't know with that one. That one's neat, in that they both saw it. I always wonder if it just vanished, like as in it was there and then it wasn't. That's an amazing one because that sort of rules out. At least it makes it a lot less likely that it was a drone or airplane or helicopter. Um, so so yeah, I don't know what they experienced there, but it's sad that that kind of that stigma is still there, where people, when they have experiences, even when they have them with other people, they'll tell the people we shouldn't talk about this because no one will believe us. It's sad that that's still out there, but in a way, understandable in certain ways. I don't think it's good, but it's understandable, and but that's why I think finding and sharing these accounts are important, and not just saying that of because I do that on my own show, because I'm saying that because I think it is important, and um, finding all kinds of other shows that have done similar things over the years is what led to me doing this show. So um, definitely glad to be a part of that whole movement to um, hopefully eventually remove most or all of the stigma, if possible, against talking about or thinking about these kinds of events. So moving on to the next one here. This one says, "This happened when I was about 9 or 10 years old. My family lived in an old cabin-like house surrounded by woods. It was a stormy night, and the power had gone out, which was not uncommon. The power outages usually lasted a few hours, so the family decided to go to bed early. The house only had 2 bedrooms, so I slept in a little corner by the living room. While lying in bed and staring at the ceiling, I noticed a strange figure coming towards my bed. There was a bit of light coming from an unremembered source, possibly the moon. The figure was a horned shadow with horns reminiscent of Viking hats or helmets. I was paralyzed with fear as the figure inched closer to my bed. Just as the figure was about to reach the bed, the power suddenly came back on. I still wonder what I would have seen if the power hadn't come back on at that moment." So there's a little bit of potential nightmare fuel for you all, if we want to take it that way. Um, that's always a possibility. I can see also. I mean, I like the fact that they pointed out that the horns were similar to what you might think of as on a Viking helmet, even though it's odd because you try to think what um would there be. I mean, I guess it would depend on on the history of the area. Were there Vikings in the area at any given time? And so I don't know really. Really, and look who pops in the chat right when I'm reading that. That's pretty funny there. Hello, Derek. Uh, Says this is like the first episode of Loki. The little girl describing the devil shape, but it's actually Loki. time traveling with his horned hat. Yeah, he does have that various versions. Yeah, and that's the thing too. In history, DG says horned figures were good gods. So that's see, I wasn't sure about that, but I thought I'd heard that. I mean, I thought I'd heard of various entities that had like I mean, even just like the writer said there. I mean, horns on a helmet or whatever and on a head doesn't there's a lot of baggage associated with that now, but that's from one particular that's from particular viewpoints, but those aren't all the viewpoints. So yeah, I wonder. And as I always say, with the way this figure was sort of moving towards the bed, I wonder if they were also whoever this was, whatever this was sort of caught off guard, um, or was just suddenly there, found itself being witnessed, and was just moving closer to try to see what was going on, see who was in that bed. If there's any kind of a time anomaly, and this figure is seeing things that do not belong in their own time, I'd be sort of, I wouldn't be running towards it either. I'd be slowly moving towards whatever I'm seeing to figure out what is there, why is it there, and all those things. So that's something to keep in mind whenever in any kind of encounter. Yeah, let's see here. Chat, looking at the chat here. No worries. Yeah, no worries, Derek. Busy working. Atzal says, Pan, the old gods became the new demons. Yeah, okay. See, I hadn't heard about that. You said either way, I would have to change, yeah, my sheets. So yeah, and it makes you wonder, just like the person said there in their account of what they experienced. It's a good question. What would have happened if the power hadn't come back on? Um, and that's something you'll never know. But yeah, so that's a neat one there because yes, the figure was sort of moving towards the writer there, but again, if it's so hard to know what was going on, who they were, what they were doing there, and why they were there, and what their intentions were. Of course, we always worry about the possibility of the worst outcome of things, and that's understandable. But just I know people may get tired of me hearing me say that, but I think it's important to do. Keep in mind all the possibilities there. So, um, so yeah. Let me see, looking at the chat here. Derek says, "Imagine you're a ghost, but you're a huge uh, Minnesota Vikings fan, and you're wearing." And that's a good point too, though. The helmet you wore during the games, so you're just freaking out everyone you try to visit as a ghost. This is the thing, though. What the lights turn on is just a guy in the football jersey. That's the thing, is we don't know how or if apparitions get to choose how they appear. I think it would depend on how much they focus on, okay, what is going on here? And then what can I do? Can I change my appearance? And just all those other little variables and factors. Um, that I mean, I know that Derek was somewhat joking there, but also that could be a possibility in some cases. I think I've heard of people. I mean, if you think of like apparitions of other figures like clowns or whatever, or I don't know, there's all kinds of possibilities there, all kinds of ways to look at things as usual. But that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.